Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Hilltop Sports Report. This is episode 12 of the podcast, and we're featuring men's soccer for the Rams in this episode. I've got a special guest, Will Bickel, on this episode, so let's not waste any time. Let's hit the music and start the show.
Let's go Rams! Let's go Rams!
Jumpin Jack Carlson inside the Academic Technology Studio. I'm very delighted to be joined by the junior from Cedar Rapids, Will Bickel, for the Men in Perp, the Cornell men's soccer team. First of all, Will, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thanks for having me today, Jack. I appreciate it.
All right, so the Rams have been busy so far in this early going for the 2023 season. Overall, the record sits at 1-2-3, 1 win, 2 losses, and 3 ties. The Rams have faced stiff competition in the early going, so if you could, can you bring fans up to speed on what's been going on for Cornell Rams men's soccer so far this season?
Yeah, so we started out the season, as you mentioned, we have our record, and we kind of jam-packed the beginning of our season. We played, I want to say it was 5 games in 8 days, right? Came out, played a lot of soccer. It was our goal to come out, start the year strong just by having as many opportunities as possible to play and kind of figure out where we sit with this new roster. I think that our record, obviously we have 3 ties and we want to turn those into wins, but we've been able to grow a lot here by having all those jam-packed games. And
so you mentioned a moment ago the young players on this team. The Rams are relying on a lot of freshmen, most notably Aiden Butler, Mason Parsley, Sam Burmeister, and others. So if you could kind of give a glance into what you've seen out of the freshmen on this Rams team.
Oh, yeah, it's been awesome. We've had a lot of freshmen come in, and they've been playing a lot of big roles here, especially in our central midfield area. That's been sweet. That's a spot that we weren't really sure what was going to happen as we moved into this season, but like you said, a lot of first years have stepped up, and they're playing close to a full 90 minutes in all of our matches, and we've really been happy with how they've been performing so far.
Really been happy with how people have been performing. I see no better segue to Aiden Lurch, the performer of the week in the Midwest Conference. He hit another level this past weekend. I mean, he was fantastic. 5 goals on the season, 11 points overall. So Aiden Lurch, the junior, he's in your same class. Last year he transferred in. So what are you seeing out of him in his second year in the program? Hit this acceleration.
Oh, it's been awesome. So I've actually known Aiden. We've played against each other since high school. So I've known him for a while. And yeah, no, he just had a crazy last week here. And I think it's really, he's rapid, right? He's so fast. And it's really been fun to watch him go take on defenders. And, especially up at Clark when he went off for his hat trick. It's just fun watching him go 1v1 and take people on to go get those goals. He's really done a good job here in this past week and well-deserved accolade.
Absolutely. And this week, the Rams are going to be busy. This Wednesday, they play against Simpson. Then on Sunday at Nebraska Wesleyan. So the Rams continue the busy schedule. So what are you looking for the Rams to do? Obviously trying to get more in the win columns. What can the Rams do to get those wins this upcoming week?
Yeah, so obviously we want to go take these 2 business trips and come back with a good result. Especially what we're looking for here as we move into these 2 games is our work in the final third. We feel like we've been playing that final ball into our attackers a little bit too early. So what we're trying to do is possess more as we work from our defense all the way up to the offense, and then possess in the final third and almost being a little bit more patient before we take our chances to really make sure that those shots are going in on target and we're getting goals from them.
Absolutely. So this year, you had a position change, though it wasn't completely foreign to you. You played this position in high school, so you were a keeper for the first 2 seasons with the Rams. Now you go into that defense role as Floris Hauschkers goes into the keeper role. So this changing of positions for you, I know it's not foreign to you, but what has that meant for your mindset going into this season, and what have you seen out of yourself, self-evaluation-wise, so far?
Oh, yeah, so that was definitely a little bit different, but as you had mentioned, I'd played this in high school. I'd played it in club growing up, so not completely unnatural. I pretty much spent the summer just on the treadmill, right, getting ready for it. Quite a bit more running than when I'm playing goalie, but kind of like to think about it as just moving one line up, right? I'm moving from a central position at goalkeeper up to playing center back, so everything's still in front of me, and I find that pretty comforting as I can see the entire game. I'm just now asking a lot more out of my feet and being able to play with the ball at my feet, finding people out wide. Yeah, just a little bit more movement and just stepping up another line, but not too foreign.
Okay, so along that same lines, how important is it for the team to have basically 2 keepers on the field at the same time, Floris and you? You know what Floris is seeing behind you, so you can also add that added layer of keeper on the field. Does that help the team at all? What do you see out there in terms of that helping the team?
I definitely like that. I think that it's helpful having Flores and I kind of stacked right on top of each other there, since we both have the same mindset, right? Like, we think the same way, especially when we're playing. So it's pretty comforting to know that I have Flores behind me and he's going to know exactly what I'm going to do. So this is really helpful as we look to play out of the back, right? And with our movement, things like that. He knows what I'm comfortable with and I know what he's comfortable with. I think that it's really been most apparent as we're looking to play in our defensive third and build up the attack. And yeah, like you said, it's very convenient that Flores and I kind of have that similar mindset.
That's really cool. So for you personally, you're a co-captain on this squad. What added responsibility has been put on your shoulders, and how have you seen this team respond to your leadership along with Emerson Roy as captains?
So I think that the biggest thing about being the captain is just paying attention to the details, right? Making sure that all these first years and everyone is, they're watching what you do regardless of whether or not you want to. So really just paying attention to the small details, because that's what's going to take us to the next level. Is small things like, when do you show up to training? Are your shin guards in before you start? Are you talking during warm-ups? Are you focused? Are you locked in? Are you wearing the right color socks? Are you wearing the right color tops? Just those really small things, I think, it's not always the big picture that's the most important. I think it's all the small things that adds to that big picture, and that's what people catch on to subconsciously.
So this leadership style for you doesn't just naturally come. Was there anything in your first 2 seasons from perhaps captains on the team, or perhaps in your high school career, that influenced your captain style?
Definitely, yeah. My first year, we had our captain, Justin Howe, who I really look up to. He was kind of he was like the captain of all captains. And what I really admired about him is that his words were very limited. He just led with his actions, and I think that spoke even more, because you weren't constantly hearing from him. You were able to watch and see what Justin was doing, and he was always doing the right thing, right? And that just motivated everyone else to go do the right thing too, because he was always on top of it, right? He demanded so much of himself that everyone else just wanted to uplift themselves as well.
So leading by example, that's kind of what he put into you. Okay, that's really interesting. So that's great that he added that for you, and now going into this junior season, going into that captain role, it isn't easy for you. So have there been any moments where you've doubted yourself throughout the process, and what have you done to perhaps address those doubts?
At the beginning of the season, I think it was a little tough making that transition from goalkeeper to center back, right? A lot of people hadn't seen me play there, so I think that was a little bit of figuring it out for myself, how my play style was going to be, where I was going to fit in with the team. I think that as the season has gone on, right, that's we fit into that position, right? I've settled in, which has been really helpful. I think just through time, showing up every day, right? That's the biggest way to get over things, is just keep working. You might not see a result in one day, but if you keep doing the same thing day in, day out, you're going to see a result a week, a month later, right? It's going to come. Just kind of believe in that process. You might not see it immediately after, but just know that if you continue to put in the work, it's going to come at some point in time.
So we've gone a little bit into this podcast without mentioning the head man for the Rams, Nate Grossi. So if you could, what impact has he made on you as a player, and how is he successful in what he does?
Yeah, so I think that one of the biggest things that Nate does is he really puts trust in people, right? I came in first year and I was able to jump right into it, play a lot, was able to start a lot of our matches, and I think that was huge, knowing that I have a head coach that believes in me and trusts me, and gives me that. It gives you power to know that your coach is the one behind you, supporting you, cheering you on. I think the best analogy for our coach is that he's kind of like a dad for all the guys, right? We all enjoy Nate, and we don't see him as just our coach, right? He chooses to spend a lot of time with us outside of just soccer, trying to organize things as a team, going and doing different events that are not just playing soccer. And I think that that's really important within our team, and sure that we've created, because he sees us as more than just a player and an individual. And I think that's a huge part while we're on here campus, and just a whole part of our entire college experience.
That's great. So you're in your 3rd year with Coach Grossi. I would have to imagine that there's a funny story or two throughout that time. So if you could, off the top of your head, I'm putting you on the spot right now, do you have any Coach Grossi stories to share?
I think that the last one that was pretty fun is, like we said, we went over to Aiden Lurch's house and we had a meal there, right? And this was just some team bonding, and we had a cornhole out, and Coach was making bets, not bets with us because we're in the NCAA. He was making deals that if we beat him in a quick, just 4 throws in cornhole, we could win team gear, or if not, we had to do sprints. So that was pretty fun, right? That's a good way to just add some, competitive, fun nature to our, relationships.
Oh, absolutely. That's fantastic. So you stepped it up, I assume.
Oh, no, we all were running.
Oh, Too bad. Well, maybe next time, right?
Yeah, Coach John is the one that has a lot of the funny stories. I love listening to Coach John try and get people's names right. I think that's probably one of the funniest things, and just having him around is, oh my gosh, the vibe on the team just becomes so much better, right? He's always making everyone laugh. He's there just having a good time. It's fun that he's able to jump in and actually he'll play with us, right? If we're doing pickup games and stuff, especially out of the season, sometimes Coach will just show up and he'll start playing, and it's just. Oh, it's fun. Everyone really enjoys having him around.
That's fantastic. So, of course, you're mentioning John Schumacher.
Yep.
So he's a fantastic influence on this team. Okay, so other members of the coaching staff, obviously mentioned John Schumacher. Members of that coaching staff and support staff, obviously Balta is a huge member of this community for the Rams. So if you could lend us a perspective into what they do behind the scenes to help with Cornell Rams men's soccer.
Oh, man, no one loves Cornell soccer more than Balta. He is been a huge part of our program. Obviously, this past 2 years has had to step away a little bit as he's moved back to Chicago, but he is here. I feel like it's been probably every other game. He comes, a lot of the home games he's here, and he's making that drive from Chicago to come back, see our game, and then oftentimes driving back that same night so we can get up for work the next day. That is just next level dedication. No one loves Cornell men's soccer more than Balta. He's doing a lot of the electronic stuff, right? Like, I know he helps a lot with our Instagram. He helps a lot just doing things like getting our player packs ready. Just anything electronically, Balta's there helping with, right? That's his forte, and a lot of that behind the scenes stuff. So the game day experience, that is kind of Balta's baby, right? Like all the flags, the music, a lot of the banners that we have hanging up. Balta actually hand painted one of those, the Defend the Crest. That is a serious time commitment, and it's pretty cool, something that's fun to look over at while you're playing and can remember, what you're doing while you're out on the field. It's good motivation. And yeah, just the playlists that are set up, everything, that game day feel is that atmosphere. Like as soon as we walk out on that field, we have kind of like that Spanish soccer music is going, right? It feels electric, and that's all thank you to Balta. And we really do appreciate that, because we know that a lot of that stuff wouldn't be possible without him. He does a lot of stuff with our technology. We've used some different things that are like tracking devices that we put on our boots, and it tells us how many touches we take, passes, miles we cover, just different information like that. And that was all possible from Balta. He's the one doing the work. Behind that, we use a VO camera thing that goes up in the sky, and it kind of tracks our play pattern, stuff like that. Balta actually donated the subscription to us this year, right? He is just goes above and beyond with the amount of things that he donates in his time, money, and just effort to the program.
Balta, you're the man. So getting back on track here as we wrap up this podcast, expectations for the season. In the early going, some ties you would have rather had be wins, but there's still plenty of season ahead for you. So what are your expectations as captain for this 2023 Rams squad?
So obviously we want to go into conference here, which is going to be starting up in about a week or so. We start with Beloit, and we want to go compete for the conference championship, right? We would love to be able to go out there and be able to host the conference tournament at home. I think that would be really special for Cornell on the campus. And yeah, like you said, we started out the year. Of course, there's some more wins that we want to have, but looking at the positives, we jammed in a ton of games. Our goal is to be able to play, get our experience up, mesh as a team, and I think we've really done that. And then now we can look forward to getting those results as we have, kind of put in that work, right? Just believing in the process. And then, yeah, as we move forward, competing in championship, making sure we're getting all of our points and out on top.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you for coming on this episode of the Hilltop Sports Report. You've given some fantastic insight into Cornell Rams men's soccer. So best of luck to you and the team this season, and we will be watching Cornell Rams men's soccer.
Thank you.
All right, so that does it for this episode of the Hilltop Sports Report. Stay tuned to the Cornell Rams social media platforms and me on Twitter. I'm still going to call it Twitter, even though people call it X now, I guess. At Jumpin Jack 123, that's my Twitter handle. And so stay tuned for when episode 13 of the podcast will drop. Thank you so much for listening. On behalf of Will Bickel, our special guest here on episode 12 of the podcast, my name is Jumpin Jack Carlson. Speaking on behalf of the Rams, saying, I'll see you next time.
Let's go Rams! Let's go Rams!